Tourists are coming. He has to walk around to keep warm. KR Khan. KR. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Yaman Allah. Assalamu alaikum. That's good. Oh yes, my young man, how are you? Hi. Are you alright? How is your health doing?
Well, my health is okay, thank you.
Is it
yes,
good? Excellent.
Okay for today.
That's what we want.
A few more questions for you, that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Fire away. You've got loads of questions.
So
Fire away.
First of all, about evolution. If you could just
right, okay, let's go.
Because I did ask why it is that some Muslims have a problem with evolution. From what I've read on your site, it seems to be the literalist interpretations of the Quran, which is the problem, the obstacle. Is that a good summary or a bad summary? Or
well, as far as summaries go, it is based on whatever you have read. Yeah, how I would approach it. The difference between a person who accepts the existence of a creator and a person who may be an agnostic, yes, who
right.
may think he's not entirely sure whether there is a creator or not.
Okay, that's not my position. But
no, of course not. Yours is an atheistic position. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The difference between the atheist position and the position of one who has accepted the existence of a creator
yes.
is not a problem in relation to evolution.
Yeah.
Okay. The problem arises when one makes evolution the very method by which life arrived and evolved. Okay, so on a simplistic premise, the believer says the creator created life. How life took on its forms thereafter may be subject to contention, but the atheistic position is no, there wasn't a need for a creator.
Yes.
For life to come.
Well, that's a separate issue, really.
Is it though? Is it only a separate issue because
it
has
semi-separate, because you don't need to be an atheist to be a scientist.
No.
But if you're an atheist, science has to be true.
Why?
Well, because some people it's a test that atheism is.
Let's restrict ourselves.
Is consistent with what you can see in science.
Right. Yeah, that's understandable. But if we go back to that
position again, but
well, you need to make your position clear so we know what we are dealing with.
I'm partly asking these questions so that when I talk to other atheists, they say silly things about Islam.
All right, I see. You can tell them, no, this is not how it is. Yeah, that's excellent. Excellent.
So, because they do sometimes say very, very silly things.
That's because they're ignorant of the facts.
Okay, well,
I would suggest, and I would in fact
people tend
go a bit further.
To call them ignorant.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. But my position is I think what you might call a romantic humanist atheist.
What is a romantic? What is right?
Faith.
Excellent. Now you see, when you say you just know there is no God. If I were to switch the question and say, do you definitely know how life arose?
Well, that is completely separate matter.
I didn't ask you whether it is separate or not. I merely asked a simple question. Now, if you have made a distinction between that being a separate matter as opposed to the theory of evolution, that's your business.
Yeah.
But in relation to understanding, I'm asking a simple question. Yes. You say you just know there isn't a creator. I'm saying, okay, if I were to ask the question, okay, do you definitely know how life arose?
No, science doesn't definitely know exactly
now, one second.
How life arose.
You are equating science with the question. I'm not asking you that because the assumption.
I'm a particular kind of atheist.
Exactly.
Do I know exactly how life arose? No.
Okay. What is the bet that we will find out?
Because my particular set of beliefs also accept that science is a valid method of inquiry into matters of nature. I would say because science is based on the axiom that there are physical laws which are sufficiently consistent and continuous to be some of which we may be able to make them possible for us to discover some of them. I would say there is every hope
Yes.
that we would eventually discover a mechanism by which
Yes.
life may have arisen and eventually confirm that into a accepted theory in settled science, which is completely consistent.
Okay, that's excellent. But you see, the Islamic perspective, or the Muslim perspective, is that the Quran says we, human beings,
Yep.
are going to be shown
Right.
on the horizons and within ourselves
Right.
until it is manifest onto humanity
Okay.
that the message that came from the Creator is the truth. Okay? Now,
Can I just run that past you? 'Cause
no
it's
problem.
difficult for me to understand.
No problem. I will go again. Yes? In chapter 41, verse 53 of the Quran, it says, the Creator is going to show us portents, humanity,
Yep.
on the horizons and within themselves, within
Okay.
human beings, until it is manifest to the human being
Okay.
that what was sent by the Creator is true.
Okay. So signs
So-
or
Call it science, call it indications, call it
clues, evidence.
clues, exactly. Let's call it whatever we want. Now, if if we look at the word science,
Okay.
what's its origin, the word science?
It comes from knowledge, I think. Do you believe?
It means just merely knowledge, okay? But you will notice that we are now making a distinction in knowledge. We say if it's science,
Yeah.
then we have more faith in it.
I do. Yes.
Exactly. If it isn't science, then we will not consider it. Okay? Now, please disagree with me and tell me why.
As a human being,
Yes.
there is science which I'm prepared to connect to confirm whatever it says is the valid inquiry into matters what is naturally true in the material world.
Yes.
I don't accept that there is any difference between the material world and my internal mental world. It's just chemical processes. Some or another resolves into
Is
consciousness.
when you make
What I
sorry,
do with consciousness is believe things which are not scientific, things which are just reasonable.
Right, excellent. But this distinction that you said or you made or you tried to, I will ask you this. You find everything internally and externally consistent. Am I right in understanding what you just said?
I'm not entirely sure where you're going with it, but I'll say yes to being.
Don't worry about where I'm going with it. I'm merely responding to what you are saying.
Well,
Okay?
I'll say yes because I can't think of a reason why I wouldn't say yes. I don't
Okay.
currently feel any
Okay,
sense of disparity.
okay, right,
can
fine.
say.
As a person, yes, you want to find out certain things. My view was that if we use the word science, and we know the word merely means knowledge,
Yes.
okay? Yet we, as an atheist, I'm talking about you, Bruce, as an atheist, your total reliance on understanding the world is based on science.
Not for me. For other people, they may well.
I'm
say
asking
that, but
about you.
For me,
Yes.
that's not quite the case. I'm prepared to trust science if it says if my other senses disagree with science. I'll believe science. Where science is not.
Right. Sorry,
Right,
if
when
your
I
other
perceive the science, I would use my reasonable judgment.
if your other
to make my
sorry,
mind
yeah.
up about other things.
Right. If your other senses disagree with science,
Yes.
you just said,
Yeah.
what other senses would disagree with science?
Oh, for example, my sense that the grass is green. Science can't tell me the grass is green because it's a subjective sensation. Science can tell me that the wavelength is such and such. The wavelength of light coming from is such and such. You can't tell me that it's green.
Okay.
Green is a subjective experience.
Okay.
So when I talk to other people, they seem to agree that the grass is what I call green. I'm assuming that the grass is green will do as well as any other theory.
Uh-huh.
For how I talk to other people and get along in life.
Right. Can we objectively test the grass? Not the color, the grass.
You cannot test the grass for its greenness, no.
I just said, not the color, just the grass.
You can test the grass for Grassness.
We can test it. Yeah, we can test it for grassness. But as you rightly pointed out, it's a subjective assessment.
Yep.
Okay. Can you trust everything based on your subjectivity?
No, there are optical illusions. There are many, many ways for the mind to be fooled.
Can we use that as a criteria then?
My judgment.
Subjectivity,
I
yes.
use it until I get better information from science or from other people or from experience or from pain, because I think there's nothing in my way and I bang my head against the pane of glass.
Yeah.
That's how I discover. That's how I
Absolutely. That's how every human being should be doing it. Wa alaikum salam. How are you, Sheikh? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Sorry about that, Bruce. Yeah. But basically, going on the train. Yeah. We all should do that. Yeah.
Yep.
But the question that I started with, I'll come back to. Okay. I said, can we, or do we think we are going to find how life began?
Right.
And you said, well, you hope that one day we will have enough information to be able to establish how it possibly got started.
Yes.
Yeah?
Primordial soup or whatever it might be.
Whatever it may be. Okay? Now, that hope that you have,
Yes.
yeah, is not based on anything definitive.
Nope.
Okay? But you have faith in it.
I have hope and I have faith.
You do, don't you?
Sometimes I have
Now,
emotional
let
response
us
to many
agree.
things.
Excellent. Let us agree on the definition of faith first.
Okay.
What would your definition of faith be?
My definition of faith,
Yeah.
I don't tremendously think about a great deal about it, but I would say something which is beyond reason,
Yeah.
beyond evidence,
Yeah.
beyond demonstration to any other person,
Uh-huh.
something internal, and something which is fairly deep. It's an emotional,
When you say something internal, what do you mean?
something which is an internal perception, like my perception of the greenness of the grass,
But internal perception is not
but of something.
right. You are
About something
right. You
sector.
are saying, well, you have faith that whoever told you it's green, it is green.
I have faith that it's great. Yes.
Right. Carry on. Yes. So we've got those.
That's my
What
internal
else?
Perception.
Yeah.
I have faith about other things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
including-
No, you just use the word my faith about other things.
So it's about a belief, if you
Yeah.
will.
It's a belief, but it is a blind belief, in a nutshell.
Very particular form of blind belief, which is not to do with knowledge.
Excellent. If it is not to do with knowledge,
Yep.
you are having a hope in the very knowledge which you are saying you would not trust in relation to finding out the origins of life. How is that logical?
But it's logical because I'm distinguishing between what science can find as a matter of fact and my reactions to that
Yes.
as a human being.
Okay.
So there's science,
Yes.
which is conducted by human beings,
Yes.
and requires human beings to
Uh-huh.
make that inquiry.
Yes.
But their hopes and their passions and their dreams and their beliefs and their faiths are
Yes.
completely separate to their practice.
Okay. Let's if we take that forward, I said that the Quran in Surah 41, chapter 41, verse 53, said that we human beings
Yes.
are going to look out there
To the horizon.
and look within ourselves
Yes.
until it is manifest to us that what the Creator sent down is the truth.
Yes.
Now, to me, that clearly is confirming that humanity is going to undertake processes and methods of inquiry to establish certain things.
It would be consistent with that interpretation. However, I am very wary because I've been through certain other kinds of religious dialogue before about attributing particular interpretations about what is naturalistically true to work of revealed scripture.
No problem.
Because
But
it's not numerology.
I agree. I agree. But that would necessarily mean that it is entirely on you. The onus is on you to establish whether what I just said about that particular statement fits with what I am saying, or it does not.
Well, if I may say so.
Please do disagree with me. I don't mind.
If I may say so, I mean.
Yeah, sure.
First of all, I do not accept as an atheist, it's my particular conviction, that there can be any evidence. So your particular problems and worries are
Here is a
very
big problem.
understandable, but they're not my
Yeah.
problems of yours.
Here is a big problem. You have denied yourself an aspect of knowledge which I would consider science.
Well,
It's the science.
I understand.
You know, if I can.
I'm getting you now.
Yes, it's a science of interpretation.
Yeah,
Okay,
science-
because in the
scientific
context
of the Quran.
in the context of the word knowledge. Now,
Yeah, okay.
please tell me why you are.
Can I just
Sure.
Because what I've heard was when you speak about knowledge, is this particular case
Now-
in which they mean knowledge?
Now, what I would suggest we do here is, because when you refer to other Muslims,
Okay.
I would have difficulty. You will notice that I am not referring to other atheists.
Okay,
I'm referring
fine,
it to you
fine.
because it makes more logical sense for us.
Perfectly
Yeah,
true, perfectly true.
exactly.
Carry on. So,
So
what you mean?
right, and absolutely, it's me and you discussing. Yes,
So it's-
of course, the atheistic ideas, the Islamic ideas, of course, we can share. Not a problem. But the moment you say some Muslims tell you something,
Okay.
I cannot respond on
Okay,
their
okay.
behalf, logically
So
speaking.
I'm
Yeah.
with you now. I'm with you. Okay.
But going further,
Yep.
I am saying to you, look, why are you denying yourself? And please tell me I'm wrong
Yes.
here. I can entirely reasonably see that the only reason you are denying yourself
Yes.
that opportunity to discover whether what I am saying may have an element of truth to it is because of your preconceived biases.
Absolutely. My preconceived
Well,
faith. My preconceived faith.
there
says
we
there
are.
is no God.
There we
Your
are.
preconceived faith
No.
says there is a God.
No, it's not my preconceived faith. I
Right,
never use the word faith.
Now, this is interesting
Yeah.
because how do you get to a position of being Muslim
Yes?
without being Muslim first?
No, because you are equating, if I may say so,
Okay.
the Christian perspective
Okay.
of the word faith with Islam.
Right.
Islam doesn't say that. It is different. And confirmation of what I mean is what I just said about the statement in the Quran, where it is actually telling human beings, you will make the necessary inquiries, you will make the necessary discoveries, until it will confirm for you
Yes.
there is a creator. Now,
Okay.
if I just take it further, now, to me, I have no problem. I'll give you an example. Yes,
Yeah.
we know that the scientific community, okay, talks about the theory of evolution.
Okay.
But logically speaking, yes, somebody tells me we are Homo sapien.
Yes.
Yeah,
I will tell you that. Yes.
yeah, you will tell me that. Yes.
To be helpful.
And somebody will tell me, possibly you will also say, that I am a form of advanced ape.
I wouldn't say advanced.
I'm so glad. Ape, okay, not advanced ape,
advanced.
just an ape.
Evolution has no direction.
Right, actually no. If evolution has no direction,
Yep.
then we have to also make a distinction between evolution and the development of the brain, if your position is true. But we'll hold it aside and we'll
Shall
pick
we
it
come
up.
back to that, yeah?
Yeah, we'll come back to
You
that.
listen to him, you waste your time.
Oh no, fine.
God bless you.
I know you long time.
God bless you.
Now you're going back up in the hotel, you wash dishes there. I know you.
God bless you. Going back to what you're saying, yes? Now, the theory of evolution, we talk about being Homo sapien, yeah?
Yes.
Now, my logic tells me, okay, Bruce, we can agree we are Homo sapiens,
Yes.
okay? Where did we start from?
Well,
What
as
would
you
your
well know,
answer
there
be?
is a story of evolution behind that. The ape family.
No, but I want to go a bit further before that.
Okay. Past Lucy.
Before that.
Before fishes.
Before that.
Right to the primordial soup.
Before that.
Where there was no life, but there was a planet
Yes.
which was boiling hot and
Now,
very kind of
now
gas.
we.
How far do you want me to go back?
Exit. I don't mind. You can go back even to the beginning of the first spark, whatever you want to call it. But let's restrict ourselves to the primordial soup
Okay.
as an example.
As an example.
Okay. Now, when I asked the question, we logically just took it to there, didn't we?
Yep.
When we started the conversation, when I said if we take it back, you immediately said no, that's a different issue. Why? Because today in the scientific community we call it abiogenesis. That aspect of study of
I didn't know
how
that
life.
before.
All right.
Abiogenesis, so
Abiogenesis.
living,
Yeah.
genesis of
That's when it's.
production of
Yes. How did life come into
Okay.
being? Yes. Now, in order to answer that question,
Yep.
the first thing we would have to do, from a scientific perspective,
Yep.
is to define life.
In an inquiry, yes.
Let's say in an inquiry,
Yep.
define life for me.
Gosh, there is a particularly technical. I'm not an
Please do.
biologist, unfortunately, but it's about reactivity to external stimuli. It's about reproduction. It's about I can't remember, to be honest.
Okay, doesn't matter, but we know what we are talking about. Okay, now.
I'm glad one of us does.
No, not to worry. The question here is this:
Yeah.
if, for example, we say one aspect of it is reproduction,
Yes.
on what basis have we determined that that is what life ought to signify? Only on reproduction.
It's because life is such an interesting thing.
Being interesting is not what we are addressing.
Well, it is interesting.
We are addressing the facts.
We are. But, that's the way
Okay.
in which the inquiry developed.
Okay, no problem.
Life was found to be an interesting thing. They
Yeah.
looked into life,
No
and
problem.
then they found out how to find a definition of life.
Okay.
And it's rather, in places, it's rather ambiguous because there are virus particles.
Absolutely.
Virus particles alive.
Absolutely.
Some say yes, some say no.
Yeah, some say yes, some say no. But the question therefore arises is, whoever developed this idea of what should constitute life, yes, is effectively telling us, look, the best reasonable answer we can come up with in relation to the definition of life is X, Y, and Z. Correct?
It's the definition which fits the theories which we want to make, and the best explanation which we can come to
Excellent.
includes that definition.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But if that is the case, then we automatically exclude the first living thing.
The first living thing,
Yes.
because it would not.
It wouldn't. Yes, it would not fit.
Well, there would be a blurred boundary like there is with virus particles.
Yes.
It'd be completely different,
Okay.
but it could be that a mitochondria developed first and cell contents developed after. I'm not an actually a biology expert.
No, I understand.
So
I understand.
but
Yeah,
there would be-
not to worry.
There'll be a grey area where the question of whether
Can I
it's
stop you
alive or
there?
not alive-
You see, when you are saying there would be a grey area,
Yeah.
again it is faith.
It's lack of definition.
You are
We
still.
can only use human terms.
Now here we are. You see, I agree with you, Bruce. But you see, every time you are saying something, I'm picking up this aspect of what Bruce is saying is entirely based on what he hasn't established, but he just believes because it makes logical sense.
It's consistent and it's the best we can do.
Exactly. But
it's
it,
not adequate.
agreed. But how can you actually say if it's not adequate, tough? Especially when someone is offering you
Other
an
evidence.
additional
Yeah. Knowledge.
explanation,
Yeah.
knowledge, or evidence.
Because
How can you allow your predispositions?
of skepticism.
I wouldn't call it that. You can only be skeptical
Yeah,
if
okay. I'm not with you. I'll try
you
and make an
think. Go
explanation.
ahead. Yeah.
I've prepared this. I'll try. I will try
Please,
my best.
you prepared it, which is good.
In science,
Yes.
as I understand it, I'm not a scientist. in
Stop there,
science-
Bruce. In one of your posts, you said you were a scientist.
Well, I was a scientist once.
Well, let's make our mind up here. What do you mean? Were you a scientist or were you not?
I was a medical healthcare scientist.
Okay, you are a scientist. Let's say you were.
I was really an
You are a
engineer, so
retired
it's
scientist.
But once upon a time, I was
Okay.
rated as a scientist.
No
Bit
problem,
to
no
me, but
problem.
Not really true. So
Okay, no problem at
it's
all.
a bit awkward.
Yeah.
So I'm not a scientist.
Okay.
I'm not really qualified to say about things especially about biology, which I'm not.
Okay, not a
learning.
problem, not a problem.
So, as I understand it, what we got to? Yes, we got to the basis where having this difficulty of why a scientist would reject that part of knowledge which has.
No, why would you reject it?
Oh, sorry. Why would I reject?
Yes.
In my role, imaginary, as a scientist.
No,
who I
let's
was.
not go into imaginaries because you don't believe in that.
Okay, fair enough.
So restrict yourself
To make
to.
various internal accommodations.
You
where
are
I-
actually confusing yourself, Bruce.
Okay, what I
Keep
would
it
say-
simple.
What I say
Yes, that's
what
good.
I do say is that any pursuit of naturalistic knowledge about the material world which requires me to conceive of a God is something which I'm going to reject, because the method by which I want to pursue that knowledge of material knowledge of naturalistic phenomena in the material world has to be done by process of hypotheses. If I presume there's a God, can always make the God hypothesis and say, well, God did it. So which ruins the game completely from my point.
Why?
Because if God can do it, then every single phenomenon can be explained completely, and my particular form of the inquiry I want to make becomes null and void.
Bruce, your logic has defeated you.
Good.
Because according
I suspected it might.
no, according to what you just said,
Yeah.
you see, at the start when we were conversing about how life originated, you said that we will have hope in the way,
Yes.
the method of inquiry, and we will hopefully find
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, but I can have hope.
one second.
About
But
science
here is the difference. Yes, I am stood here in front of you.
Yes.
I am a Muslim.
Yes.
Okay. The Quran I consider to be a message, a revelation that came from the Creator. I'm stood here in front of you, and I can only vouch for myself, and because it is a subjective element that I'm going to pronounce, you are going to have to accept it as much as I'm accepting your subjective
Absolutely, I
view.
completely accept that.
Okay. I would love to find out how the first spark of life began.
Good.
But this is despite me accepting there's a creator.
Yes.
What's the problem?
I don't see any problem.
Why are you finding it a problem then?
I don't find it a problem.
Wait a minute.
I wonder why.
No.
I came to it
If I can
because
just,
some other people said something.
No,
to me.
no.
If you don't find it a
Yeah.
problem, I've got no problem.
if you don't have a problem, you just said earlier on that if you knew that there was a creator, well, then what's the point? Effectively,
Well,
you said.
But in terms of the pursuit of science,
No.
that would be the case for any scientist.
In the pursuit of knowledge.
In the pursuit of
Why
science
are
which
you?
has a particular method.
No, Bruce. The point I'm making is why are you not expanding your thinking to include knowledge? Knowledge,
Okay.
yeah, instead of restricting it to a particular kind of knowledge
I
only.
think any scientist would say,
Yes,
if I'm to pursue that particular method of science,
yes,
I must not conceive of, must bring into the explanation a creator God who could do anything.
why?
Because if I'm examining a phenomenon,
Yes,
any phenomenon could be explained by God did it.
no. Let me ask you this. I see the logic falling, and I've often heard many people say this,
Yes.
and I'm so glad you introduced it because it means I can discuss it with you.
Yeah, good.
Okay? Well, if I'm going to inquire how this tripod stands by itself,
Yes.
oh, God did it, forget it. I don't need to work it out. My logic is telling me, how did the Creator do this? I want to know. What's wrong with that?
Right. So you, as
No, I'm asking you what's wrong with it. First, tell me what's wrong with this line of reasoning.
First of all, I need to understand what you're saying.
Okay.
First of all, you're saying that you look at that and you say, how did the Creator do that?
No, I'll tell you. If there is a Creator,
Okay.
yeah, and the Creator has made this tripod,
Okay, or the tree, or the,
as an example, yeah, I'm looking at it. I acknowledge there is a Creator,
okay.
but I am looking at this tripod, and I am thinking to myself, how
Yeah.
did the
Okay,
how
gotcha.
did the Creator do this? I really want to find out. And guess what? When I do find out, yes, just like any other human being, when I find out something, my respect for the maker of that increases because
okay.
now I know exactly how.
I think I can
Now-
give you a better answer.
Logically speaking, no. Logically speaking, you said, well, if we find out God did it, no point in inquiring.
No, it's because the introduction of God directly into an explanation of how the nuts and bolts, how God did this, to take it from your perspective.
Yes.
Because the introduction of God directly into the process of examination ruins the process of examination. It means you can't figure out how God did it.
Stop. I am suggesting to you, it doesn't ruin it. And I will tell you how it doesn't ruin it.
Right.
Just following that example here,
Yep.
okay? I'll look at a tree.
Yep.
Yes? As I am starting to look at the tree, work this out, as I'm looking at the tree, I am told that 5 times a day, I must bow
Yes.
my head in submission to the Creator.
Yes.
Okay? Just as I'm about to, saw the tree, because I'm just working out, I want to find out about the tree,
Okay.
I have to worship the Creator.
Yes.
So I do that,
Yep.
okay? As soon as I finish, right, let me get on with this. I want to find out how this works,
Yes.
okay? Where does it break down in terms of reason?
Right. Trying again.
Try again.
If you keep it separate, it doesn't break down. But if you try to combine the two together, then it breaks down, because
I've just given you an example. Tell me where it breaks down.
it breaks down if you try to pray, if you try to build your belief, your faith, into the examination of how the tree works. So it's not pray, examine,
Sorry, no.
examine, pray
As I said,
at the
Bruce,
same time.
as I said, Bruce, there is a misunderstanding very clearly, and not only you, the way this is reasoned out. I just told you, look, I worship the Creator,
Yes.
and then after I finish, I decide, right, I want to find out exactly how this works.
There is
Now,
no problem, and
now,
scientists-
not-
I've done it.
you won't have a problem. Now, here is the issue. Whether I accept there's a Creator or not,
Yeah. The examination is still the same. Yes.
the examination is going to be the same.
Yes.
The methods are going to be the same. Just
Yes.
like I tell you,
absolutely correct.
the idea of falsifiability,
Yes.
yeah, is a relatively recent addition to the scientific
science, yeah,
method.
absolutely
We know that,
correct.
but there are many people who disagree with this idea of falsifiability.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes, it's only
well,
Popper in whatever
it
was,
is
yes.
Karl Popper. Okay,
yeah.
yes, we know that, but the question here is not that. The issue here is, okay, I know and you know, by the grace of God, okay, I have lived a life so far.
Okay.
You have lived a life so far.
Yeah.
Okay, you still are confidently going to tell me, like I will tell you confidently, that the more I'm learning, the more I'm realizing I don't know.
Absolutely.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But for me to be able to find out everything, yeah,
Part of the tree. Yes.
whatever, whether it's the tree, whether it's the mechanics of a wheel or whatever, I would love to get right to the bottom of it.
Yes.
Yes? Now, amazingly, the only difference here is going to be this, that after I find out how this tree became the way it is, yes?
You never will, but. That's part-
Now,
you-
one
you
second.
travel, you don't arrive.
One second. Well, let's say I travel to whatever I'm traveling to.
It's the process,
Okay.
which is good.
But here is the problem, yes? I can do it as effectively as any atheistic scientist.
Better.
Possibly better. But the
Possibly
question is this.
Possibly
The
quite
question,
better.
the question is this. It does not detract from me establishing what the facts are about the tree. So now,
But it
where...
does if you bring.
No. 1 second, Bruce. Let me just finish. As I have already told you, the Creator I just worship because it was my, what we call the prayer time.
Yeah.
Yes? I just did that. After I completed that, back I was on to trying to find out how.
Yeah.
While I am doing that, okay,
Yep. Okay.
in no way is it detracting.
Contrary to your beliefs. I can't
Not
see-
only the beliefs, there aren't any, but not only that, it is in no way at all impinging on my method of establishing anything to do with the tree. Now, you said if you bring God into it, okay, the method of inquiry somehow gets tainted. I am just giving you the example of how it doesn't. How are you saying it does? I want you to tell me.
I'm trying to.
Oh, please,
I'll
please.
make my best.
No
best
problem,
effort.
no problem at all, Bruce.
If you're studying a
Yes.
particular problem, a tree,
Whatever,
bush,
whatever.
laboratory,
Yes,
whatever it might be,
yes.
that's about how, in your frame of reference, God does this. The doing of it, how the nuts and bolts fit together,
Yeah.
if you try to directly involve the actions of the Creator point by point, it will because of this disconnect between hypothesizing and because every single time you come to any particular level of explanation, we'll be looking for what you're looking for, you'll be involving the existence of the creator in the action. That's how I see the reason why it is why I've been taught and I've absorbed the fact that if you're examining cognitive science, you always leave possible imps, pixies, fairies, so to be.
Yeah, absolutely, not a problem at all. Yeah, of course, I understand. Yeah.
All complicated kinds of,
Yes.
of assumptions,
Yes.
including the most complicated of all, God,
Yes.
out of your mind completely, and you just study the nuts and bolts as
Okay.
nuts and bolts
Which is understandable.
to keep your mind clear.
Yeah, understandable, but it still has not answered the question. You see, I want you to tell me what problem it raises for me, and I just told you. I want to investigate the workings of the tree.
Yep.
Yes? And I am doing it. Okay?
Yes.
As I'm watch this, as I'm cutting it through,
Yes.
prayer time comes.
Yeah.
So I said, right, okay, it's prayer time. Stop. I perform the prayer.
Yes, I've got it.
Yeah, finish, and I'm back again. I need to find out what is going on.
exactly.
You still have not been able to
No.
reasonably tell me why it is a problem.
I have told you why it's a problem. It's a problem if you do the two things at the same time.
Why is it a problem? I'm sorry, I'm pushing because what you have done is explain, but you haven't given me a reason.
I've tried to give you the best explanation if I can.
Okay,
I've been taught and I accepted
stop. When you say you've been taught, by whom?
by my tutors in college and school. And
Did you ever consider addressing what they had said to you as to whether it was correct or not? It seems no.
I consider it authoritative in the matter of doing science.
But you have never considered maybe they may be wrong.
The very fact that I accepted them as my teachers and tutors meant that I accepted their authority.
But at this moment in time, their authority is being questioned by me.
Okay.
And I am saying to you, look, I am telling you, and because subjectivity, you said earlier on, is one of those bars that we can use, yeah, in our interaction with our surroundings, I am saying to you, Bruce, let me give you an ultimate scientific.
Let me try to
Before you do that,
point for you.
before you do that, can I just finish?
Absolutely fine.
Bruce, I'm going to give you a scientific experiment to do.
Right, okay.
Yes?
Go ahead.
And I want you to put your courage in front of you now. The scientific
Curiosity.
experiment,
I would
yes,
say the curiosity.
the scientific experiment I will give you is this, yes? Try and worship the Creator and do scientific studies and see whether it's a problem.
No.
Now can you see, it's a scientific experiment. How can you say no to it?
I can say no to it, and I do say
Why? No.
obstinate. You're obstinate.
I'm not obstinate. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm actually addressing the very blind faith that you have in a system which was taught to you by your tutors, which you considered as authoritative. Now, all I am saying is, look, your reliance on science you are entitled to, but here I am now giving you a scientific test, for want of a better word. No. Before you do that, Bruce, just tell me. No, and let me say I'm giving you a scientific experiment to undertake, okay? Now, if you notice, I'm using the word scientific experiment.
I do not
And-
believe you're able to do that.
No, I'm telling you sincerely, I want to know, and I need,
I accept this
I
test,
need,
I dispute the science
why?
because you're not a scientist.
Now look at this. What does a scientist do to establish a certain
He
thing to be
establishes
true?
between his brother scientist
No.
who has reached a certain rank.
Look, respectfully, what you are really saying to me here is that,
That is what I
okay,
did to
no,
establish the fact
not
that
a problem.
That,
The-
if you want the truth literally, that is what I
No,
did.
no, literally what you are saying is that you are totally reliant on blind faith. And I will tell you why. Because you are saying to me, look, it requires peers, yes? Now, listen to what I'm saying. All I said to you is, I'm giving you a scientific experiment, okay? Now,
You can say
you are saying you are not a scientist. I'll say I'm not a scientist,
Yeah.
but both of us do understand the scientific method, don't we? Do you understand the scientific method?
I cannot say that I do because I'm not a scientist either. And by the faith which by the
Right.
by the
Yes,
creed, if I want
Bruce.
to call it that of science, which I've always lived by.
Not a
I'm
problem.
entitled to do science, and therefore you're
Not a
entitled to
problem.
do science.
But to me, it's a clear case of a cop out here, Bruce.
But I don't-
You
I
are
don't-
you are
I-
actually afraid of undertaking this scientific
I
experiment
don't want
or
to-
experiment.
I will take your test and a curiosity.
I never said test. I said experiment. Why are you denying
Okay, well,
a
if I call it an experiment, then would you settle with that?
scientific experiment?
For the sake of no, I can't accept scientific. I cannot
Now,
accept it.
now tell me,
It's not
tell me.
part of the body of science.
No. Bruce, I agree with you. No, I agree and I appreciate why you are
important to me, so
resistant.
I'm not gonna
No. No, I agree it's important to you, but sometimes the most important things to us need to be reassessed to
Sometimes.
establish whether what we are holding on to has any validity in the context of total knowledge. In this case, yours is a signal failure.
Okay. Well, I will go with you because it's an experiment.
Please do.
I'll go with that as long as you don't say science again.
Scientific experiment. But you are only saying no because you think it's not fitting with your
If I take your experiment, and I decide.
scientific experiment.
If I take your.
First tell me,
if I
Bruce,
take your
why you
experiment,
don't
I
consider
decide
it
on
a
the basis
scientific
of your
experiment.
experiment that my definition of science needs to be expanded, then I will consider the possibility.
Okay, what's the definition of
But I will not call it
what is
science before you start.
okay, Bruce? What is the definition of what is the definition of a scientific experiment?
I don't care to even get into you. I'm so too bothered right now to even
Are you
start.
okay? Cool down, calm down
Oh.
first. It's okay, calm down. Have you got some water, please? Just give Bruce some
I've
water.
got some
No,
water,
please.
that's
It's
fine.
nice and cold. And can you give me some as well? I'm talking too much.
You must be-
No,
you're
not a
talking,
problem.
you're talking. So
Go ahead.
Okay, but so your experiment, let's put it that, was to examine this concept data stuff you've got for me to examine and consider on that basis whether my picture of science is correct or not correct. Is that
No.
no? Okay.
I said simply, and I will respect your wishes because as you are admitting you are getting hot under the collar about it, I will tell you one thing, Bruce. Yes? Jazakallah. There you are, Bruce, brother. It's it's nice and cold, yeah?
Lovely, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah? Basically what I am saying,
Converted to Hinduism and he was murdered by fundamentalists. He said, I and my father are one.
yeah,
Praise Shara.
shame on them. They shouldn't have done it.
Break for a quick moment.
Yeah, no problem at all, Bruce. Take your time. Take your time, sir. Not to worry. Oh, pills.